Welcome, everyone, to the Week 13 series of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Ginn, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you haven't had the chance, go check out our website at justsayingfootball.com and follow us on Instagram at justsayingnogwjs for article and video updates. Week 13 is upon us after a very, very weird Week 12. We had the Steelers-Ravens game on a Wednesday. It was a little unusual, especially at 3:40 in the afternoon. Once it was 7, I was like, there's no more football. What is this? This is weird.
Yeah.
It really threw my whole day schedule off, but we got through it. Now Week 13 is here. We got 7 games kicking off at 1 o'clock. Let's start with the Detroit Lions taking on the Chicago Bears in Chicago. Jack, what you got for us?
What we got is, this Lions team finally going to, have to show out without Matt Patricia, their head coach, who was fired last week, as we mentioned on the last episode. But it's going to be a big one for the Bears, 5-6. These guys have had a huge skid here. I'm going to look for Detroit to kind of overcome this. We've seen a lot of teams, the Texans, the Falcons, start to try to make a little bit more strides after their coaches were let go. So I'm looking for, if DeAndre Swift plays, him, Adrian Peterson, this run game to get going, take a little bit of the edge off Stafford and try to wear down this Bears defense that's so good.
Yeah, hopefully Swift is in there. He's listed as doubtful, was downgraded, but you're absolutely right. They need Peterson, they need Carry on. They got to give Stafford some sort of relief, especially still with no Kenny Galladay. He's probably going to be looking a lot towards Marvin Jones Jr. and T.J. Hawkinson to kind of be the guy. And then I'm thinking on the flip, the Bears, they just got embarrassed by the Packers. It was uncanny of that defense to be giving up as many points, as many yards as we saw last week. And I expect them to kind of come after Stafford and get a revenge game. Under Trubisky, this game, week 1, they played against each other. And he actually did pretty well. He was able to throw for 3 touchdowns against them. Threw for over 240 yards, was 20 for 36. I expect them to try to repeat that if possible.
Yeah, I think that the Bears do have a chance in this one as well. I think that at home, they're favorable. They already have film from this team this year. Like you mentioned, T.J. Hawkinson, I think he's going to be great. He's 70 yards in the first quarter last week. This guy is showing that he's going to be a top 5 tight end, top 10 tight end right now in the league. He was a top 10 pick. I expect big things from him. I don't know what this Lions team is going to look like. Darrell Bevell's taken over now. He was a long-time coordinator for the Vikings and the Seahawks, offensive coordinator. Now he'll be the coach, but I don't think it'll be enough against the Bears.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I got to go with the Bears here. I think that defense is good enough to slow down Stafford, get a win against them, make some turnovers happen. And I think that offense showed that at least under Trubisky, they're able to move the ball better than with Foles. Hopefully with his running ability, he can also get some chunk yards here and there on important third downs, on big first downs and moments like that. I think that they'll end up getting the win, though, for sure, against a Lions team that's pretty weak.
Yeah, and the next one we have here is another divisional matchup in the NFC. We have the Saints, Taysom Hill leading these Saints 9-2 into Atlanta 4-7. Taysom Hill, the last 2 weeks, Drew Brees has been out, 10 rushing attempts in each of those games. In those games, he's also passing pretty well. Last week, we only saw him throw for 78 yards. That's just because they had to play against the Broncos, and they went ahead pretty early. But what are you thinking about this Saints team against Atlanta, who's been actually playing pretty well since Dan Quinn's been let go?
The Falcons were the first team to actually see Taysom Hill, and they got the win, only holding them to 9 points. The Falcons, I'm more concerned with the Falcons offense against the Saints defense and not so much what Taysom Hill can do. We've seen that they're going to run the ball a bunch with him. We've seen that he's able to pass the ball. He did well against them. He was 18 for 23, 233, threw for under 100 yards and had a pick last week. But he's shown to be able to move the ball. Michael Thomas is still a factor. Alvin Kamara is still a factor. Jared Cook is still a factor. I trust that offense. But this Saints defense looks phenomenal. They are just playing lights out again. They've been holding teams to under double-digit points. That's what you want to see from your defense, especially this late in the season.
Yeah, I mean, and one guy I got to highlight that we haven't really talked about much on this show, Trey Hendrickson. He's third right now in the whole league in sacks, 9.5. He has really helped step up. Cam Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore, Malcolm Jenkins, these guys are getting it done. They understand they have to step up. They're the first seed right now in the NFC. They want to get that bye. They want as many games rest as they can get so they can get Drew Brees back on the field. I really do want to see the Saints come in and win this game. I think that we haven't seen too much from Taysom. 23 passes in his first game, and he was able to eclipse 200 yards, but in the second game under 100 yards. I want to see him get a couple of touchdowns. He hasn't thrown for one yet. He has rushed for 4 in the last 2 games, but I'm looking for the Saints to win this one in Atlanta.
Yeah, fun fact about Taysom Hill, he actually has yet to throw a touchdown in his career,
Yeah,
actually.
in his
Interesting.
career.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm also going to go with the Saints. If there's no Julio Jones, we saw the hamstring injury come out a little bit last week. If there's no Todd Gurley, it's going to be that much easier, I think, for them to beat him. I got to trust the Saints what that defense can do. And again, you have Alvin Kamara, you have Cook, you have Thomas. They'll find the way to get the ball to these guys to make big plays happen.
Yeah, Sean Payton always finds a way. In
Yep.
the next game, we got Tennessee 8-3 hosting the Browns, also 8-3. These two teams, Shanzi, top 2 in the whole league in rushing. We're going to see a lot of groundwork. Cleveland right now 161 on the ground. Tennessee 158 on the ground. Derrick Henry, we saw tear it up last week. 3 touchdowns against the Colts, one of the best defenses in the league. How are we feeling about this game? 8-3 against 8-3.
Well, I think if you're the Browns and you walk away with a win over the Titans, I think you begin to kind of think, okay, maybe this Browns team is legit. Maybe they actually have something. But it again, it's going to come down to that win. We saw Jarvis Landry finally have a great game. 11. He had 11 targets, 8 receptions, 143 yards, and his first touchdown of the season. That's what we want to see. That's why he's called Juice. He's one of the best to do it. We've been waiting for this game. It finally happened. Hopefully he's able to build on this game. The Titans defense isn't great. They're not very good against the run. And on the flip, the Browns and them are pretty even in terms of their pass defense and their rush defense. So I think that defense is going to be the key here. They're getting Myles Garrett back for Cleveland. That's a big, big addition off the COVID list. They'll be able to go after Tannehill. But they're also missing Denzel Ward. So A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, that could give the Titans some chances. I think it comes down to what the defenses can do and not so much what the running backs can do, because we know that they can run up 150-plus yards. We know they can score 3 touchdowns each. What can these defenses do to try to slow that down, and which defense is actually going to get it done?
Yeah, I mean, the Browns right now, you said Myles Garrett coming back. We love talking about him. He's a phenomenal player. The Browns right now ranking 9th in rush defense. This is really where they're able to stop teams, and they really kill the clock. This is going to be one of those things where these defenses are going to have to limit these running backs to big plays. Nick Chubb right now, he's out there. He's coming back. He's getting over 100 yards a game. Derrick Henry over 100 yards a game. These guys are interesting, like you said. So I'm looking for Myles Garrett to match up with Derrick Henry. Just make sure that he's not letting him get to that second level for the Browns. I like you said, I think that if the Browns do get this win, they could be legit. And I do apologize to anybody that I did tell not to start Jarvis Landry last week. He was somebody I said last week not to start. He's looking great. I think the Browns actually could win this game. I think that it's going to come down to a close one. I wouldn't bet on. I'd go. This is one of those. If you're going to bet on the Browns, I'd go money line, because I'm looking at these. This is going to come down to the wire, the way these teams play the clocks. But I'm going to go with the Browns.
Yeah, I gotta defer. I'm gonna take the Titans. What we saw last week was just a lot of fun. Yes, the Colts were missing a lot of their key players, including DeForest Buckner and D'Amico Autry. So obviously it was a lot easier for the Titans to run on the Colts. But I loved what we've been seeing out of A.J. Brown with the yak. He's just yards after catch with this guy is unreal. He's always a big play threat at any moment the ball gets in his hand. Same with Corey Davis. We've seen that he's been a really solid blanket for Tannehill. And then Tannehill feels comfortable right now. I think that with no Denzel Ward, it will allow these wide receivers to get open. And although Jonnu Smith may not be the most consistent tight end, he's one of the most athletic ones. And when he does get the ball in his hand and they begin to look his way, plays do begin to happen. So I'm going to trust the Titans. Also, Vrabel came out and said that Derrick Henry needs to see more passes. So if that happens this weekend, I'm going to be a little bit I'm going to be pretty scared to see that running down at me if I was a linebacker. But I'm going to still take the Titans.
Well, I mean, Derrick Henry season, it's December. It's hard to bet against the Titans for me. I mean, I just think that the Browns understand where they are mentally right now. This is I mentioned it last week. They haven't had a season like this in over a decade. So I think that they understand that they're going to have to stop him. They got a top 10 rushing defense, but I love the Titans this year. I want them. I wanted them to win the division this year. But the Browns, I'm going with them in this one.
Who do you think is going to get more rushing yards, Nick Chubb or Derrick Henry?
I'm gonna go with Nick Chubb. I only say that because the last couple of weeks, since he's been back from his injury, he has looked phenomenal. He has 19 carries, 20 carries, 19 carries. The lowest he's rushed for is 114 yards. He's got 2 touchdowns in 3 games. I believe that he gets it done against the Titans defense. I think that they're easier to bend.
All right. Well, Derrick Henry has rushed for over back-to-back 120-yard plus games, so he's going to be running all over you for disrespecting the king. Let's move it on. We got the Las Vegas Raiders heading over to New York to take on the Jets. What are you thinking about this one? Can the Jets win this one? We talked last week that last week was one of their chances to beat the Dolphins as one of their more winnable games. This week, what we saw from the Raiders last week was not great. That's not what you want to see.
Yeah.
It's like another chance for the Jets to win. Can they get the win? What are we thinking here, Jack?
Boy, this was a matchup of two teams that we thought very differently last week than we do this week of them. Last week we thought the Jets could really go in there to Miami, and they only put up 3 points. And then, we thought that Oakland had a huge, not Oakland, Las Vegas had a huge chance to go for a huge chance to take out Atlanta. Atlanta stepped up last week. But that's what I think about the Raiders. I think that they play hard against good teams, and they make a lot of mistakes against bad teams. And if they are doing it at that trend, the Jets here, if they're playing bad, they could make a couple of mistakes. This Jets team, I don't know what's going to happen, but right now, Frank Gore is playing well, and the Raiders defense is very easily run on.
Yeah, when you're talking about playing down, I'm just thinking this seems almost like we're going back to that Thursday night football match of the Broncos versus Jets earlier this season that we saw where, I could easily see this for some reason going over 65 points because both teams are just constantly scoring on one another with ease.
Crazy.
But I'm looking at this Raiders team. I'm seeing no Josh Jacobs coming in this week. And I don't love that. I think that Devontae Booker has been solid in the backfield when he has had the opportunities. But that makes me now question this team a little bit more. It makes me a little bit harder to want to trust what Derek Carr can do. Is there anything you can do to convince me that Carr can get it done with Aguilar and Waller and Henry Ruggs? Even though he doesn't have this amazing running back in Josh Jacobs.
It's going to be really tough. Josh Jacobs is one of those, he's a game-changing guy. He can get the ball 20 times a game. He's their leading rusher. It's very, very tough for people to convince, that the Jets can win this game. I think that they're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to manage the clock. But Derek Carr, if he can do the same with Devontae Booker, and he can run this team, if Devontae Booker can get over 80 yards, I believe that he can with the amount of volume that they give him on the ground. But I don't think that it's going to be done in the passing game. I think we've seen Derek Carr struggling over the last couple of weeks. He struggled against bad teams, and the Jets, they are on that hierarchy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders. I think last week John Gruden is not going to take this again for a second week. That was an embarrassment. We saw the tweets. We saw the fans getting pissed. People were not happy. I think this, even though there's no Josh Jacobs, I'm not loving what Derek Carr has been doing. I think that this is a good matchup, an opportunity for them to get right, get their heads back on, and show us why they're a playoff team, why they beat the Chiefs earlier this season, why they almost beat them again a couple weeks ago.
No, you're right. And like you asked, is it going to be done by Derek Carr? I don't think it will be done by Derek Carr, but it is going to have to rely on this offense in somewhat. Right now, the Raiders are 28th ranked out of 32 with, allowing points. It's not good right now for the Raiders. They haven't really been playing to what we expected the last couple of weeks. They started really hot this season, but, after the last 2 losses, they're definitely in a mental funk, and this Jets game is a good opportunity to get there. The one team, though, in our next matchup who's probably in the biggest mental funk of the whole year is the Jacksonville Jaguars. 1-10 after starting 1-0, beating the Colts. We talk about it every week. We hope for them to get another win. But are they going to get a win against your Minnesota Vikings this week?
I hope not. I really think that the Vikings are in a very good opportunity to win this. I hope that last week's game has given them a lot of confidence. Our defense stepped up at really key points, holding them to 3 field goals when they reached into the red zone 3 separate times. I thought that Kirk Cousins put together a fantastic final drive with a game-winning touchdown to Chad Beebe, who had also muffed the punt, gave the Panthers an opportunity right there in the red zone on the 12-yard line. Teddy Bridgewater almost hit DJ Moore for what would have been possibly the game-winning touchdown. I think this is a great opportunity for the Vikings to win. We're getting Adam Thielen back. Ezra Cleveland, our starting right guard, is back. Let's have Cook run the ball. Let's see a huge performance like we saw last week when the Jaguars gave up 144 yards to Nick Chubb. And then let's get Adam Thielen in the end zone and some Justin Jefferson in the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings right now, 8th seed in the NFC, and we got a 7th seed playoffs. They know that they have a game here that can put them at 6-6. I'm hoping good for your Vikings in this one. I think at home, when that beautiful stadium, it's just I think Mike Glennon after last week, going 20 for 35. 235, 2 touchdowns. He played solid last week, but
yeah, he did.
I think the Vikings are, they're tough. They have Eric Kendricks and Wilson. They have, their defense is stepping up. They've had some injuries, but, they have been really playing to this understanding that they can still make the playoffs after the slow start. And Jacksonville is just a great opportunity. I don't think Mike Glennon's going to be able to get around this defense like he did last week.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Vikings on this one. I think the most exciting thing about this game to watch is going to be the Dalvin Cook versus James Robinson matchup that we're going to be seeing. Robinson has just been absolutely incredible all season, filling in the shoes for Fournette. Undrafted too. You can't believe a guy like this when undrafted, he's just been absolutely wrecking the league. Had 22 carries for 128 yards last week. He's at 890 on the season, 6 TDs. He's a great running back. I expect him to have a pretty good game up against the Vikings. I expect him to also be the focal point of that Jaguars offense.
Yeah, I mean, I have a question for you. I was going to ask who has a better chance of getting over 100 yards in this game between Dalvin and James Robinson. My question for you is, does James Robinson get 110 and break 1,000 in this game for the season in his rookie year as an undrafted?
That's tough. To answer your first question, I'm going to say Cook because people came out and were like, are you wearing down? He was like, don't ever ask running back if it's wear and tear, etc. So I think he's coming back in here with the vengeance in this game, and we're getting Ezra Cleveland back, like I mentioned, help out the O-line. I definitely think that it's possible. I think he's going to get like 107. I think he's just going to come just shy. I think it's going to be one of those games where he's this close, but he's just going to be shy of it. But I can see him getting over 100 yards. So I'm going to say we're going to hold him to still under that 1,000-yard mark until next week.
Dang, 107. But the Vikings, I believe, like you mentioned, I think the receiving core is playing so well. Thielen, Jefferson, Cousins is playing so well. Shanzi, who loves Cousins, but makes sure that he's playing to his contract.
I have a high standard for him.
You've definitely been impressed by him the last couple of weeks. I think that last week was a true blessing. That missed field goal, you guys have an opportunity. I think the Vikings take it in this one.
I like it. Let's move on. We got the Cincinnati Bengals heading down to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Unsure if Tua's going to be in still. Looking like it's going to be a game-time decision, but even with Ryan Fitzpatrick in the lineup, it looks like with either quarterback, they can win games. So
yeah.
What you got for us in this one?
Ooh, I mean, last week, the Giants, as always, they play heart attack football, and, they were almost allowing this Bengals team with no Joe Mixon, no Joe Burrow to, come back. And every week they do that up by a couple of possessions. But here, the Bengals, I think that it's going to be a lot tougher. I think that although what they met last week with the Giants defense, a disruptive defense, Miami is strategically so strong. They're able to attack you with their pass rush. They have great cover corners in Byron Jones, Xavier Howard leading the league right now in interceptions. But like you mentioned, without Tua there, I think that Ryan Fitzpatrick gives them a good chance to win, but there are going to be more turnovers, and that could give opportunities to this Bengals defense that actually last week put them in great field position.
Yeah, we've seen a significant drop, I think, in quarterback play for Cincinnati ever since Burrow went down with torn ACL, and it's that much harder when you don't have your star running back in Joe Mixon, and Gio Bernard is a solid running back, but he's no Mixon. We're not seeing the production that you want to see. I have to give it to the Dolphins, regardless of the quarterback. I expect Devontae Parker to have a really solid game. He did great last week, 8 receptions, 119 yards. I expect him to also find the end zone this week against a pretty weak secondary. I trust the Dolphins. I like what they've done with this team. I really have enjoyed Brian Flores. I think everyone's rallied around him. And again, with either quarterback in there, they seem to be doing well. And Fitzpatrick has fit really well in that position, coaching up Tua, giving him, talking to him, giving him those chances and everything like that. So I just got to lean with the Dolphins. And also, they're this close to being in the playoffs. They're this close to winning the AFC East. They're still on the hunt. I would love to see the Dolphins win the AFC East and surprise everyone and take the rug out from underneath the Bills.
I mean, if Fitzmagic does that, this guy has pushed the envelope before with making a bad team that we expected to be bad go to the playoffs or go crazy, this part of the season. I'm expecting a good game. But this Dolphins defense has been playing very, very well this year. Their special teams, they're just getting it done on all phases of the ball. They're relying a lot on Jason Sanders with his leg, but I'm going to go with the Dolphins absolutely at home in this one. I think they take it, and they, like you said, give the Bills a little bit of a run for their money here in December for the AFC East title.
Absolutely, absolutely. Last one we got for the day, Indianapolis Colts heading over to Houston to take on the Texans. Deshaun Watson is easily by far one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He just completely ripped apart the Lions. So much so that the Lions were like, we got to fire our GM and our head coach. Okay, Deshaun, we understand we're not playing very good football. Thank you for that. So what you got for us in this game? He's going up against a tough Colts defense.
Ooh, tough Colts defense. Right now, we mention it every week. These guys are top 10 in all major defensive categories. But right now, they're also top 10 in, points scored and as well as passing yards. Philip Rivers has actually been playing pretty well the last couple of weeks. Thank God he has that running back committee. They've had a couple of good games here, but at 7-4, they would really like to just try to get a win here after that loss to Tennessee last week. But Houston, they could give him a run for their money if Deshaun Watson can get around the fact that his main guy, Will Fuller, is now suspended for the next 6 games. So he's going to miss the rest of this season and the first game of next year. And that sucks. Missing his speedster. What do you think about that, Shanzi?
I feel so bad for Deshaun Watson. He is, like I said, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think that he is an absolute game changer. And what we've seen is Bill O'Brien just ruin the team. Then we saw them get rid of his star wide receiver in Hopkins. Then he has Randall Cobb go to IR. Brandon Cooks has missed a few games. Will Fuller is now having the PEDs. This guy is just taking hit after hit after hit. He didn't have a running game because David Johnson got a concussion, had to go on the IR for a couple of weeks. And through it all, he's somehow found ways to just absolutely keep them in some ball games, get a win here and there. And I just feel for him. I want him he's so good. He's just so good. And I don't think that he's going to get the win this week because he doesn't have his main guy Fuller. They're getting David Johnson back, and that's really awesome. It's super helpful, but it's just not going to be enough against a really good Colts defense that's going to be getting to Forrest Buckner back. That's going to be getting to Miko Autry. On the flip for the Texans, Bradley Roby also has the PED. He's out 6 games too. He's in the exact same position, and now they're missing, and now they're down a cornerback. It's hit after hit after hit. I gotta trust the Colts, like you said. The running back by committee, Philip Rivers is playing well. Mm-hmm. The defense is getting healthy. It's going in the right direction.
Yeah, and we doubt Philip Rivers as people do when he has a bad game. He's a veteran, but he has looked a lot.
Throwing motion.
But this offensive line's giving him time. Jonathan Taylor's getting it done on the ground. When he has a good game, this team looks super solid. Naeem Hines is flying all around. This guy had 8 catches last week. I think that it can be a very interesting game here. J.J. Watt, I think, is going to give Philip Rivers a hard time. We've seen him disrupt a lot of pocket quarterbacks this year. Got a pick 6 last week. Happy Thanksgiving to him. One thing I want to bring up, I think that the Colts will win this game. I think they understand they have to stay in this tight AFC race. If the Titans are going to stay ahead of them in this division, I know that they're going to have to try to gun for this wild card, but T.Y. Hilton, I just want to say, shout out to him. I say every week, every time we do a T.Y. Hilton call that he's got to get over 82 yards a touchdown. He got 81 yards last week for the first time in almost 2 years.
And a touchdown.
And a touchdown. So, fantastic. T.Y. Hilton, shout out to you.
Yeah, he did great. Got one question for you, though. Who's going to get more sacks, J.J. Watt or DeForest Buckner? No Anthony Costanza in tomorrow for the Colts.
I'm going to go with my man, J.J. Watt. He's got me on the hype train right now after that touchdown last week. I think that he is looking healthy, and he's understanding that this team is not really in a huge playoff contention at the moment. But after a big win like that, he's definitely riding high morale-wise. But, DeForest Buckner against that Texans offensive line is a juicy second option.
I like the JJ. I would pick DeForest. That's just me, though. But, hey, to each their own. That's all the time we have. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We hope you enjoy all the games on Sunday, and hope you enjoyed our analysis.
Yeah, thank you for always watching. Just always remember to check us out, justsayingfootball.com. Just Saying No GWJS on Instagram, and check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, hit the bell. Just Saying Football. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the games.
Thank you.